No, which would you prefer?
If I was broke, probably a coal miner. Because
answer
people,
the question.
no, that's my answer.
No, but hold on. Answer the question. If you had the choice, and here are your two choices, to be a homemaker and your husband goes into the coal mines, or you get to go into the coal mines and I guess your husband stays home. I don't know what the deal is.
But the problem with your question,
what's the problem with the question?
Is that women back then did not get a choice.
Okay, sure. I'm going to grant.
They were told, you can't work in this coal mine. Too dangerous for you. Too whatever.
I'm not sure.
They were told your job is to be a homemaker, even if you don't have kids.
Sure.
Even if you don't have kids, your job as a woman is not to work in some sort of a physical demanding job. It's not to be a CEO. It's not to be anything. But it's not to be anything that involves work. Women do not really get jobs. You can be a receptionist in the 50s if you want. But other than that, women were not given the choice. Even if you're a single woman by yourself with no kids who needs money because you're going to be homeless.
Are you going to answer my question, though?
I'm answering right now.
You're not answering the question.
You were not given the choice to work.
Women did have the choice to work, and they did work.
Barely.
What do you mean,
like
barely?
Triangle Shirtwaist Factory? Like, it was not a situation where lots of women were available to work. And so, through generations and slow decline, where women were slowly able to work more, it was still a very normal, like almost taught thing for women to not work. And nowadays, it's so much common for women to work, which is great.
Sure.
However,
do you want to answer the question, though?
What is it?
Okay, if you had a choice between being a homemaker or working in a coal mine and dying of emphysema in your 40s.
In 1920s?
Sure, 1920s.
I wouldn't get the choice. That's my choice.
Let's say you did. It's a hypothetical.
If I begged and pleaded.
It has nothing to do with begging.
I would pick the coal mine.
You know what? They're putting out the coal mine's putting out a program. They're like, we're going to hire one woman. So you do get the choice in this hypothetical.
I would want to work.
You'd prefer to work in the coal mine than be a homemaker.
Yes.
Really?
If I was by myself and I didn't have money and I needed money to live, yeah, I'd rather work in the coal mine.
That's not really the purview of the hypothetical. You're adding
But the hypothetical doesn't make any sense. If I had the choice and my life was perfect, obviously I wouldn't want to work in a coal mine. But back then, there weren't that many options. And if I was a poor woman who didn't have a source of income, who didn't have a husband, I would much rather work in a coal mine than sit in a house by myself. A house I couldn't afford because I didn't have a job, because I wasn't allowed one. I would have to marry a man. That is my job. Back then.
Throughout all this claim that women weren't allowed to work through history is just demonstrably false. Women have always been able to work.
But what? Out of 100 women, 10 women could work?
All women could work,
no.
But many women opted. It was just the sort of.
You're so wrong about that.
How am I wrong?
Because women were often never hired, and if they were hired for much less money than they deserved.
What evidence do you have for this?
History books.
Okay, let me ask you a question, and I want to move off of the wage gap here pretty soon.
My grandpa was a coal miner, so just
okay, thank you for that.
I just heard that. I was like, waste my time.
If it was actually the case that women were paid more than men, what's actually stopping companies? And you would agree that companies, their goal is to make money?
Okay.
Like, do you think
capitalism society,
would you agree with me that corporations are extremely greedy?
Yes.
And their primary goal is to generate profit?
Yeah.
Like, you would agree that you might say that corporations, like there is sexism in corporations. You'd probably argue that because men occupy the highest positions in these corporations, like they're part of the executive team, they're part of the board, whatever, the CEOs, et cetera. You would say that there could be sexism in these corporations.
There could be.
Right. Or you probably say that there is. But you would agree that also corporations' primary motive is profit and money.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So do you think that corporations prioritize their alleged or supposed sexism over making money?
No.
Okay, so then if that was genuinely the case, that you could genuinely get away with paying women less, what is stopping from corporations just exclusively hiring women and saving like 30% or 20% on their payroll expenses and beating out their competitors by only hiring women?
Because men believe that men make more money and men are better at their jobs. So a CEO man who is sexist, I mean, I don't know these people.
But you're saying it's the case that women are just as good as men.
Yeah.
Okay. So then if that's the case, if that's your worldview.
That's mine. That's not a man's. That's not every man's worldview.
Okay. So, but what is, again, if it's actually true that you can get away with paying these women 30%, 20%, why don't the companies just hire women?
Because they don't like women.
But I thought profit was the ultimate motivator, not just like boys club sexism.
Yeah. But they're scared they're going to get what's it called? A lawsuit. They're scared they're going to get a lawsuit, a sexism lawsuit, an ageism lawsuit, a pregnancy lawsuit. They're scared.
There's literally women. There's gyms just for women out here in the valley, and men sue because they can't come in. So like, people sue all the time.
It's.
Well, I guess you're not hypothetical situation.
You're not supposed to discriminate.
If you can bring in a male CEO who is known for discriminating against women and ask him these questions and he gives you real answers, I'd love to see that. However, they're all going to tell you bullshit.
What are they going to tell you?
That the men they hire are just great and they didn't mean to discriminate and they didn't mean to do any of this stuff. But it's hard to get the truth out of these people. But if you look at everything.
I mean, the thing is that this wage gap thing, it's been legislated against since the 1960s. So if you can prove as a woman that there is an actual discrepancy between wages between your male coworkers, you can bring a lawsuit.
But that's the problem, is people do things so secretively now. Ageism, racism, sexism, all of it.
But okay.
That can be done in such ways where it's avoidable to be sued against.
I think, look, ultimately...
It's definitely not as bad as it used to be. I'm not saying like the sexism in the workplace is as bad as it was in the 60s or 50s. It's way better now, and I'm so grateful that it's better now. However, it still exists. And acknowledging that it's still, even if it's like only 5% exists, it's still there.
So you're saying 95 cents to $1? I
don't know.
What do you think is the number?
I don't know.
Well, you said there's a wage gap. You would have to articulate what that is.
It depends on each person.
What do you think about Google, for example? They did this internal audit hoping to reinforce some of this feminist nonsense, and it actually found that they were overpaying women.
Okay.
So would this be evidence of sexism against men?
Yeah, they can take it down. They can do whatever they want.
Why were they paying more women before that? Like, because the men were... Okay, so they were paying those women more because priorly they were not paying women properly. So they're going to overcompensate that time because women were not getting paid a lot. So then when they want to look good, they want to look good to society.
No, I'm asking, did they find out why they were overpaying women?
The CEO of Google was a woman.
Well, wouldn't you, hold on. So what do you mean by why?
I mean, did they say like, oh, we accidentally did this, or were they doing that on purpose?
Well, let me ask you a question. What would it actually matter if it's on purpose or not?
Because if they accidentally said, oh, all these women's performances were just better and we gave them raises and we didn't realize that it was only women, then
wouldn't that have to apply the other way towards men too?
Yeah.
But you would make the claim if like there was actually merit for the men being paid more for whatever reason that is, you would probably make the argument that would be due to like sexism and the wage gap.
You can't say probably. If a company showed proof that all the men were working harder and doing better than the women, I would have zero problem with the men being paid more than the women of that company.
Wouldn't you just argue that, oh, it's just the boys club?
It depends.
Well, isn't that the basis of your whole argument?
Everything just depends, though.
Okay, everything just depends. So if it's the case that you found a company where, the men were making 10% more, you would probably say there must be a wage gap due to sexism.
Well, what is
but
it?
If the women...
Is it every single man of the company, even one who has no position that's better than a woman, and the women are making less than the men who they're higher than? Maybe then it's worth looking into. But if it's a very obvious just distribution of wealth, like the men are actually doing better than the women, and some men are getting paid less, but some women are getting paid more, but most men are getting paid more, then you can say, it's the company's job to pay who's doing better.
So you do acknowledge there are scenarios in which the men are genuinely doing better, ergo they deserve to be paid more?
Yeah, I've never said that's wrong. It's when a company pays men who are even doing worse than women way more than women, then it's a problem.
Well, how would you establish that?
If they can show proof.
And in which case, I would agree with you. They could bring some sort of sex discrimination lawsuit. Okay. But it's not clear to me if that's even happening like on a wide scale.
Okay.
Again, look, I can only repeat myself here at this point. The wage gap is simply argued away. It's an earnings gap. It simply compares all the earnings of men to all the earnings of women.
But I'm not talking about the earnings gap.
Okay, you're talking about the wage gap?
Like if a man and a woman apply for the exact same position, the payment difference. I'm not talking about more women don't have jobs than men and women make less than men overall per capita of the entire U.S.
Yeah, couldn't you see a difference between two men, though? So, for example, one of the men negotiates for a higher salary than the other man does.
Same job?
It's same exact job, but I mean, wouldn't you agree that there's a component of the company's going to make you an offer and then there's going to be a negotiation? Some people might not even negotiate and they're just going to take the first offer that comes to them.
Which goes back to her point about women stereotypically don't know how to negotiate for themselves and ask more. Some men who maybe weren't raised with a good relationship with money, or how if their parents weren't wealthy, they don't know that they can negotiate for more. So it is all based on, I think, how you were raised.
But also a lot of the time women who speak up for themselves are told that they are like aggressive and disrespectful and rude. And whereas men who speak up for themselves about money are like ambitious and awesome and they're going for it, you know? So it's just,
Here,
there's so many different factors.
I got to read a couple chats here. We do have to move it on.
From the freaky men.
Oh, from the freaky men.
Like freaky men. Yeah.
Where is
Felicity,
Andrew?
Are you able to read these?
Chair 1, hello.
Where is Andrew? I don't have the characters to explain how wrong Chair 1 is about everything she says. Ever seen a woman give in during a divorce, or do they fight tooth and nail?
If you're talking about Andrew, the one that said rape is good if the woman enjoys it. Sorry, if the woman has essayed and she orgasms, that's a good thing.